Hello and welcome to this interview. We're very happy to host Nevena Buzek, who is a professional coach, a specialist in leadership, a specialist in learning and development, and who will give us all her insights about her experience in coaching. This event is hosted by the International Coaching Federation Switzerland within the context of the International Coaching Week. So my name is Saba Imru. I'm leading this project, and I have the pleasure of introducing you now to Nevena. Hello, how are you? And welcome to this interview that you have granted us.
Hi, Saba. Thank you very much for your invitation. Honored to be here.
Thank you. So Nevena, would you like to tell our audience a little bit more about yourself before we plunge into the questions that I want to ask you?
Yeah, sure. So I am originally from Serbia. I live currently in Zurich, but I come from Serbia, from one little town close to Belgrade, where I grew up. After my university and master's degree in Serbia, I got a job in Johnson Controls in Slovakia. And this is when my professional experience starts really. And I have been very blessed to be working in big companies right at the beginning of my career, where I had a chance to work with individuals from many different nationalities and cultures that really helped me grow as a professional and as a person. So I started in Johnson Controls as a trainer, then in Bratislava Business Center. After that, I became a global trainer. I was delivering leadership programs all around the world. I always say that was my favorite part of the job, because I was able to travel different countries every month and deliver leadership programs in the offices all around the world. And after that, I have enrolled into a position of a training leader in Amazon. There I had a chance to work really with amazing people from all around the world, and it expanded my knowledge as a trainer, as a leader. And this really leadership experience is helping me even today when I work with leaders, because at the end of the day, I was in their shoes and I know how they feel, and this is why I'm able to help them and support them tackle their pain points. I am also psychotherapist under supervision in transactional analysis, and I'm an ICF certified coach. And to be honest with you, at the beginning of my education journey in coaching, I was struggling a little bit to find the why behind all of those, let's say, experiences that I have, and how to combine them best. I had a feeling there must be something that can be something that can be extracted in the best possible way from all of those experiences that I had. But at the beginning, I was still a bit unsure in what way, and how can coaching on top of everything really help me put all these experiences and knowledge together to serve the best possible.
So you have a really interesting background, and you've done many interesting things. And what I'm curious about is, you're a psychotherapist, and you're a counselor, and you're highly qualified in this domain. What pushed you to go into coaching?
That's a good question. And I somehow feel that I didn't choose coaching. Coaching chose me. And I was looking into coaching a few years ago already, many years ago, and I was looking into the options, into education. I was reading about it, but somehow I still felt it's not time yet. Mm-hmm. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready personally. I wasn't ready professionally. So I kind of put that on the side. And then recently I had one very traumatizing experience from my personal life And then after that, I just felt that's it. Now is the time. Now is the time to find a new purpose, to find a new way how I can serve people best. And I started looking into it again, and I enrolled in this journey. And to be honest, to be fully honest with you, I mentioned you this before. At the beginning of this coaching journey, I felt a little bit like a fraud. I was like, what is this? What do you mean we don't talk about the past? What do you mean we don't go into into deeper hidden sides of ourselves, of our childhood? Because as a psychotherapist, that was my first first need to start digging deeper and to really help people find the cause of their current challenges. So at the beginning, I was really like, what is this, right? So I felt a little bit like a fraud. But then after more time into reading about coaching, doing coaching, going through further education in coaching, I realized all the power coaching has. And even though today coaching is still not appeared in its best light, I would say. Many people think, oh, and everyone can be a coach today. There's so many coaches out there, right? I really invite and encourage people to learn more about coaching, to try it, because only then they will realize the immense power what coaching has. I know many coaches, I hear many coaches saying coaching is not your profession, coaching is the way of life. And at the beginning, you might find that a bit cheesy, but it's true. It's so true. I now see how coaching helped me as a person, me as a professional, how it helped me develop better relationships with my husband, with my friends, with people I work with. So it is definitely a mindset shift, and it's definitely a way of life.
Thank you for mentioning that, because and I've been a teacher, an instructor of coaches, of professional coaches for many years, and what I noticed is exactly what you're saying, is that the primary beneficiaries, at least the first beneficiaries of the learning process of coaching, is the coach itself, himself or herself. It really is very beneficial for us because we can implement the same tools that then we would implement with our clients. Another point which I really found interesting is how you embraced the coaching approach, which is a little bit in contrast to the psychotherapeutic approach, which looks backwards, and the coaching looks forwards. And as I was saying to you in our previous conversation, that there are some situations where we do need therapy and we do need to go back into time. But in the coaching approach, we cover all those situations where it's not necessary, and we can start from today building the future. And this brings me to my next question. It's a delicate balance to combine coaching and psychotherapy, and it requires a lot of discernment, of course, which you have as a seasoned professional. I'm wondering, how do you combine these two disciplines in your work in organizations?
Yeah, I echo your words. I absolutely agree with you. It is a bit challenging, might sometimes, and a bit controversial even, because the first thing you learn as a coach is not to ask certain questions or not to go into certain directions, right? That not to mix it with therapy or mentoring and so on. However, there are a lot of professionals out there who are successfully combining these two, and I think that the biggest power is extracting the best out of both. And I have educated myself in transactional analysis. So it is a school in psychotherapy by Eric Berne that is really focused to understand and improve the healthy interpersonal relationships, right? So it is not observing a person just as a person, but also as a person interacting with other people and interacting inside of themselves. So relationship with others and the relationship that we have with ourselves, the way we talk to ourselves, with our inner child, with our inner critique, with our inner self. And then those relationships really shaping our behaviors and the way we act, the way we feel, the way we live. So the way I found how to extract the best out of both worlds, it's really using transactional analysis concept. So I will talk a bit more about that, but through coaching techniques. So we are still using coaching techniques, right? We are still using active listening, powerful questioning, goal setting, and so on. We're still using a coach presence and all those techniques that the coaching has. But we are looking at them and using them throughout transactional analysis concept. So we are observing, self-awareness, self-reflection. We are observing ourselves through our three main ego states: ego state of a parent, ego state of an adult, and ego state of a child. So through these concepts, we are going through, we are using coaching techniques through these concepts to really understand better our relationship with others and our relationship with ourselves, and work on those behaviors.
So that's very interesting, because you're really combining the very active, proactive aspect of coaching with the more reflective and self-reflective aspect of increasing self-awareness and observing yourself in these three modes of ego modes of parent, child, and adult. Is there anything you would like to add to this concept of these three ego modes, so that our viewers who are not familiar with transactional analysis may understand a bit, what does it mean when I'm a child, when I'm an adult, when I'm a parent? How does this work?
Yeah, absolutely. So these three ego states have nothing to do with our chronological age, of course. So it's more referred to the psychological age that is reflected in our behaviors. So, for example, when we look at the ego state of a parent, ego state of a parent can be a critique parent or a nurturing parent. So if we are looking into our interpersonal relationship, how we talk to ourselves, we can also be a nurturing parent and a critique parent to ourselves, right? So if I tell to myself today, oh, I was eating so much last night and I have to go to the gym. Come on, Nevena, you're so lazy. Just go to the gym, right? I'm being very critique parent to myself. Or if I am telling to my husband, you're not doing anything around the house, you're never helping me, you have to help me, you need to do more chores, and so on. I'm being a critique parent to my husband, to my partner. So this means that I am communicating with him or with myself, not from the ego state of an equal, but of an ego state of a critique parent to a child, for example. So the way how the parent might communicate to a child. Another example might be of a nurturing parent. A nurturing parent is a parent who is jumping in to help, right? So jumping in to do something instead of another person. So that can be a negative or a positive one, right? So a positive one, if it's nurturing in a positive way, in a way that helps me develop, and the negative one, it's of course nurturing me in the way that it's doing things instead of me, but not helping me grow, right? And then an ego state of a child, and it's my favorite ego state. An ego state of a child, it's really, if you just remember a child inside of you, and when you remember how you behaved as a child, what made you happy. And an ego state of a free child is a child that is doing what their needs are telling them to do. So we are freeing our free child when we are doing art, when we are painting, when we are dancing, when we are singing, when we are behaving a little bit cheeky, a little bit childish, maybe, but in a positive way, when we are playing video games. So when we are doing everything that is making us happy and feeling of freedom, right? And then we also have a child who is a bit rebellious, who is not so obedient, right? So in these moments, let's say, for example, me telling to my husband, you never help me around the house, you never clean the dishes, you never do this, you never cook lunch. And then he can become a rebellious child and tell me, don't talk to me like that. Now I'm not going to do anything, right? So just on purpose. In that moment, he's being a rebellious child, or he can also be an adaptive child, meaning, okay, I will do everything. I'm so sorry. It will never happen again. So in that case, he's still behaving like a child, but more in an adaptive way, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there are, as you can see, it's so fascinating because all of us are having all these ego states, and we are triggering them and turning them on and off in different situations based on our childhood and based on what we learned when we were kids, right? So we call in transactional analysis a little professor. So when we were kids, we were writing down notes, what was making my parents or my caretakers happy or not. And based on that, we develop different behaviors and different scripts that we use in everyday life. Mm-hmm. So if you see it, so I was giving some of the examples of a personal life, but this can be reflected into professional life so much, right?
Absolutely.
So if you take a look at the way we communicate and the relationship we have with our colleagues or with our superiors or with our subordinates, we are shifting our ego state so much in those different everyday situations, right? And in these transactions, there are two types of transactions. So one type is the open transaction, meaning the conversation is happening, both sides are feeling okay at the end of conversation, but there are also cross transactions, so non-complementary. So there is no outcome afterwards. So if we take a look at an example where I'm being, or you're being an adult and asking me from an adult ego state, Nevena, what's the time? So that is a fact, that is an information, and you are communicating to me without any emotions, very rational, what's the time today? And I go and tell you, oh, Saba, don't ask me. I am not being rational. I'm not behaving like an adult from my adult ego state. I'm behaving from my child ego state, right? So rebellious child, I'm pushing you back and I'm not giving you the answer. In that moment, you are being confused. What happened? That's not the answer you expected, right? So in that moment, we did not have an open transaction. So our communication did not have any positive result. So you are not feeling okay after my answer. I'm not feeling okay. And our communication did not have any conclusion, right? So that is one type of transaction. Another type of transaction that we are looking for, that is desirable type of transaction, is open transaction, meaning that you're telling me something or asking me a question, and I answer you in a way that aligns with your ego state, right? So even, for example, if that might not sound very positive, but if we are aligned, if I'm not surprising you with my answer, that is again an open transaction. So if you can see, so in many situations when a leader is talking to team members, and when team members are talking among themselves, these transactions happen. And the desired outcome is really to have those open transactions. And the desired outcome is to have a life position. I'm okay, you are okay.
Thank you for this very interesting explanation and the examples. They really illustrate how these different ego states play out. And it's interesting that you're saying we have these all day long, and we can shift from a parent to a child to an adult mode, depending on the situation or the circumstances of the exchanges we're having. And many of our listeners here will probably make connections with their workplace and jump to conclusions saying, oh, so and so is always a critical parent or things like that. So I think it's really important that you are bringing this kind of awareness into the workplace, and maybe through your coaching, individual coaching, or the training that you deliver, that you're bringing this kind of awareness, and it would really help people to relate to each other in a different way, or at least with much more awareness. I'm wondering, without of course going into details, would you have an example of how coaching and maybe the awareness of these modes of action have helped a client of yours?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are a lot of course, as you mentioned, examples and situations that we see in our everyday when we are communicating with other people in the workplace. But what I find most fascinating is what's happening inside of us, how we communicate with ourselves, shifting those ego states, right? Mm-hmm. So through my coaching, I see many times clients come to me saying they want to work on one challenge. So for example, I work with leaders on their career development path. So preparing them, helping them when they're new leaders, and also preparing them to jump to a new leadership position, a promotion. And my coaching with them and my leadership programs are part of their career development path. And what I see usually is they come with one problem. Our ego is brilliant in masking challenges, right? We always think we have one challenge, and actually something completely different is hiding. And coaching is extremely powerful in demasking what our ego is really telling us, right? So what I found very beneficial is through coaching questions. As I mentioned, I use coaching techniques. So through coaching questions, after some time, we find out what is the real pain point to that person. So just to give you some of the examples, so I have leaders coming to me telling me they are burned out, or they're very tired, or telling me they have difficulties communicating with their team members because they don't feel they understand them well. They don't feel they know what they're asking from them. Or I have some leaders saying that they have difficulties because they know that they need to work on certain trainings and programs and self-development, but they tend to procrastinate, for example, and so on and so forth. So through coaching questions, so they come to me and they tell me all that. So this is my goal. This is what I want to work on. And I say, okay, let's start. And then through coaching questions, we really dig deep into realizing there might be an imposter syndrome, or there might be a procrastination because of a fear of success. And by the way, many people talk about fear of failure. That is, very well known, but not many people talk about fear of success. And this is something very interesting that I found out, especially with new parents who are scared to work on their goals because they think they might not have enough time to be with their family, and they might feel that they might get burned out again because they had a burnout in the past, and so on and so forth. So through my experience, I found out that coaching is really helping you understand what are the challenges that you really have, instead of just recognizing some superficial challenges that you might think you have. And this is why I think everyone should go to a coaching, because it's helping you, unmask and discover what are really the things that are bothering you and what should you be working on. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for those examples. So we can, it brings it to life, how, if I were to be coached by you, what would happen? How would it play out? So that's really interesting to learn. Nevena, you have a lot of competencies You're a coach, you are a psychotherapy counselor, you're a trainer, and you have an enormous amount of experience as an L&D professional in various organizations that you've worked in. What advice would you give to coaches or L&D professionals, HR professionals who are creating a leadership or career development program?
That's a very good question. Yes, I'm very passionate about learning and development. So this is how I started my career. And this experience is really helping me today to build a good leadership programs and to become the leadership coach and career coach I am today, right? So because I am on this other side, on the HR side as well. So I'm a big believer that all the decisions should be data-driven. And many times we are seeing the businesses requiring one thing from HR, and then HR just goes and delivers this, right? However, I would like to encourage the L&D professionals and also HR professionals to dig deeper, because sometimes, just like in therapy or coaching, sometimes our client doesn't know what they want and doesn't know what they need. So I would really encourage all learning and development and HR departments to do thorough data analytics and skill gap analysis, and to really track the trends of the data. So the leadership behaviors, the skill gaps, where we are now, where we want to be, and to develop an action steps. How are we going to get there, right? So many times clients come to me and tell me, hey, I want a leadership development program. These are my problems. And I said, okay, I can build that very easily, right? However, I would like to learn more about your organization. I would like to interview your high management. I would like to interview some of your leaders. I would like to look into the data that you have. So what are the feedback that your employees are giving me, and so on. So I believe that, and from my experience seeing this, how this works, so not taking just any program off the shelf, but really tailoring the program based on the company culture, based on the company needs, based on the reality as well. Because we can say, for example, we can build a leadership program telling to leaders about engaging employees and motivating employees. And for example, if the company is fully remote, you cannot use those standardized ways of motivating and engaging the employees as you would do, right, in general, because you need to really tailor your approach to the remote environment. So every company is unique, every team is unique. So I'm a big believer that every leadership program and every learning and development initiative, in order to be successful, needs to be data-driven and needs to be really tailored to the needs and the culture of the team and the company.
Thinking that your approach is sort of very holistic.
Yes, exactly. So as I mentioned in the past, so when I was starting my career, this is something that you would do. You would just create a training or take something off the shelf and deliver, right? One program for everyone. However, now also my coaching experience helped me a lot in really realizing that everybody's unique. Every team dynamic is very unique. And this is why I also love the blended and holistic approach, as you would say. So before, you would just put 20 leaders in the room, 2 days, leadership program, that's it, right? However, my approach is, let's really see what is needed, and let's really do maybe some micro learnings first, right? And then e-learnings that they can even take a look on their way home in the train, right, on their mobile phones, and then put them in the workshop. And then after that, let's do mastermind sessions or group coaching sessions where real magic happens, right? When you put people in the workshop, I mean, I love workshops. I'm a trainer myself. However, I believe that the real magic happens when people are in a small group and when they are really sharing these experiences and pain points together. And this knowledge sharing is increasing the engagement of the participants and creating one learning culture that we are really aiming for. So what happens after the workshop? People might just go home and forget about it, right? But if we are establishing these group coachings sessions and mastermind sessions, this is where we are creating the learning culture, and this is where we are making sure that this learning is continuing even after the workshop itself. So this is why I'm a big believer in a very holistic approach to the development of teams, of people, individuals. And this is when I think the real magic and the real improvement happens.
Thank you for that. Yes, it certainly is a very interesting approach and much more effective than what we've seen in the past. And what is interesting also, you say sometimes that the people who are requesting the service are not very clear on their requirements. And so HR might, they have the experience and they might be able to articulate it, but often the managers, they have a problem or they want their team to develop in one way or another, and they just give it to the coach or trainer or L&D professional, and they just say, okay, just do it, solve it, and they're not really willing or interested or having the time to go a little bit deeper into the details of how this plays out. And especially often they would like us to do that quickly. And we know that leadership development and any personal type of development just does not happen in a 2-day workshop and that's it. And it needs a follow-up, as you were saying, with coaching or masterminds and etc. How do you go about getting the buy-in from the managers to have to endorse these more holistic approaches?
Yes, so that is a big challenge. And I always say, as HR professionals, so learning and development professionals, we can build the best processes, the best programs. If people are not using them, they're useless. So it's just like having a Ferrari in the garage and not driving it, right? So it's just rotting there. So as much as we in L&D or in coaching need to make sure that we create a great product, we also need to make sure how are we selling it and how are we, getting the people's buy-in to actually use it. So as I mentioned, I'm a big believer in the data, and I think the data speaks for themselves, right? So if you show that to the leadership that these individual goals are very aligned with the team goals and with the company goals, so cascading the company goals right to the individual goals, to show them how these action steps are aligned with the overall company success. How is it aligned with their individual success? How is it aligned with their individual development path? To show them how their performance is directly impacted by this learning, it's a very powerful thing. So we can give motivational speeches until tomorrow, how coaching is amazing and so on. But if we don't show people the data, if we don't show people the experience, and if we don't really answer their why, I don't think it will work. So I think that if we are wanting to sell the product or a process in HR, we really need to tie it to the greater goal and to show people how it is aligned with their own benefits and with their own development path and success of their team.
Thank you. Thank you for these great tips of alignment, which I think that most of us would like to see in all these programs. So Nevena, we're drawing to the end of this interview, and I really want to thank you. It's been so rich, and it's allowed me to learn more about you also. Is there anything else, sort of like a last word thing, another idea that you'd like to share before we wrap up?
Yeah, I would just like to invite everyone and to encourage everyone to get their inner child free and to be creative with their learnings, with their different experiences and knowledge that they collected throughout the years. Be creative, be open to see what are the possibilities into combining certain things, and just to play with it and be brave to discover new worlds of opportunities that those things might take with them. I have a lot of clients that feel unsure because they have very different mixture of experiences and education. So they come to the sessions feeling, oh, what am I good for? I've done so many different things. I have so many different educations. Nothing is connected. Everything is connected. Everything that we have done or learned on our path has built the person we are today. So in the way that I am also mixing therapy with coaching, with learning and development, I really encourage everyone to just be creative and get the best out of all the things they know and all the things they've experienced.
Thank you so much for this very positive conclusion. It's been really, really wonderful to have this conversation with you. And I would like to invite our audience also to look out for Nevena's webinar, which will take place on Thursday, the 16th of May, live at 1800 hours Central European Time. So make sure that you sign up on our website to listen to Nevena's very interesting webinar. And the title of it, let me read it out to you, is Courageous Conversations, Transforming Dialogue into Action. So this promises to be another very interesting session with Nevena. And with that, I would like to close this interview, this conversation, I would say, and remind everyone that this is an activity that we have designed for international workers and organizations. But of course, anyone else who watches this interview will be fascinated anyway. Make sure you check out our website to see what other activities we are offering. This is an ICF Switzerland event. And I'm Saba Imro, and I thank you, and we'll see you soon in the next interview. Thank you, Nevena. And see you at your webinar. I can't wait to attend. I'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you.